we're gonna dive into the story of how a cute, fluffy animal pushed an entire continent to the brink of disaster. This isn't a movie plot, it's the real, absolutely wild history of the European rabbit in Australia.
So here it is, the European rabbit. Now, depending on where it is in the world, this animal has two totally different stories. In Europe, it's a key part of the ecosystem, but in Australia, it became one of the worst invasive species in recorded history. So how on earth did the exact same animal have such opposite fates?
To really get what went wrong, we have to start at the beginning. We need to go back to the rabbit's original home, on the Iberian Peninsula.
You see, in Europe, for literally thousands of years, the rabbit wasn't a pest at all. It was a resource. People hunted it for food, for fur, for sport. But the key thing is, its population never got out of control. Why? Because it had enemies. A whole network of predators. Eagles, foxes, the Iberian lynx were always hunting them. This constant pressure acted like a natural ecological brake, keeping everything in balance.
But that perfect balance was shattered in 1859. One decision, one single act, was about to unleash an absolute catastrophe on the other side of the planet.
24, that's it. That's the number that started the whole disaster. An English settler, a guy named Thomas Austin, let just 24 rabbits loose so he could hunt them for fun. And it would go down as one of the single worst ecological blunders in history, mainly because the conditions were just perfect for chaos.
Australia, it turns out, was basically a 5-star resort for rabbits. It had huge open grasslands full of food, soft soil that was a dream for digging burrows, and mild winters, which meant they could breed all year round. But the real game changer, the critical piece of the puzzle, was that there were almost no natural predators to stop them. And then, of course, there's the rabbit itself, which is just an unbelievable breeding machine. They can have babies when they're just 3 months old. They can have up to 7 litters a year. And their cozy little communal burrows meant most of the baby rabbits survived. The stage was set for a population explosion like nothing we'd ever seen. So you take this hyper-fertile animal, you drop it into a paradise with 0 enemies, and what do you get? You get what experts call the perfect form of an invasive species. It was, quite literally, a biological time bomb just waiting to go off.
What happened next wasn't just growth, it was a biological conquest. The numbers are just mind-boggling. An entire continent was about to be devoured.
And the speed of it all was just insane. It took only 10 years for people to look around and realize, uh-oh, we have a serious problem. By the 1930s, the situation had gone from a problem to an out-of-control plague.
Get this, over 200 million. That was the estimated population. All of them descended from those original 24 rabbits. They were spreading across the country at more than 100 kilometers a year. This wasn't a pest problem anymore. It was an invasion.
And the damage they caused was a catastrophic chain reaction. The rabbits ate everything, stripping the land bare. Without plants to hold the ground together, the topsoil just blew away, turning huge areas into desert. Pastures for livestock were ruined. Entire ecosystems, with all their unique native animals, just completely collapsed. So what do you do when your entire country is being eaten alive? Well, you declare war. But it was a war that humanity was about to lose, badly.
The first big plan was an incredible feat of engineering, the rabbit-proof fence, a gigantic barrier stretching over 3,200 kilometers. But it was a complete and total failure. The rabbits, they just dug under it, climbed over it, or went around it. A fence just wasn't going to stop them.
People tried everything else too. Mass hunting, widespread poisoning, but it was like trying to empty the ocean with a bucket. Their reproductive rate was just too high. And that led everyone to this one stark realization. Physical force was not going to win this war.
So if fences and guns don't work, what's next? You turn to biological weapons. In the 1950s, scientists released a virus called myxoma, and at first it was devastating. It killed 99% of the rabbits. But evolution is a funny thing. The 1% that were naturally resistant, they survived and they bred. So in the 90s, scientists released another virus, cuniculus, and guess what? The same thing happened. It sparked this incredible, ongoing arms race between our science and the rabbit's ability to evolve.
Okay, now here is where the story takes a seriously ironic turn. You really can't make this stuff up. It's all about how we see this animal today. So, in Australia, the rabbit is public enemy number 1.
it's legally a pest. You absolutely cannot breed them or let them go. But if you go back to Europe, their numbers are actually falling, and that's a huge problem for predators like the rare Iberian lynx. So there are active conservation programs trying to protect the very same animal that Australia has spent billions trying to get rid of.
So when you look at this whole epic disaster that spanned a century, who's really to blame? I think it's pretty clear the rabbit wasn't the real villain here.
Really, this was just a whole chain of human failures, one after another. It started with a pretty harmless idea, hunting for sport, but it was followed by a complete failure to understand the environment. We totally underestimated how fast they could breed, we waited way too long to act, and then we didn't properly account for the power of evolution.
Ultimately, this whole saga wasn't about nature just going crazy. As this quote says so perfectly, it was a disaster created by our own lack of foresight, our own failure of imagination. We basically built a time bomb, lit the fuse, and then were totally shocked when it exploded. So, this incredible story, from just 24 cute little rabbits to a full-blown continental catastrophe, it leaves us with one pretty important and maybe a little uncomfortable question to ask ourselves. What's the next seemingly harmless decision we're making today that could become tomorrow's disaster?